As we come today to 1 Samuel chapter 4, Samuel has been introduced to us. His ministry as a prophet has begun, and we're privy to that. But now we're going to look at some very dark days in the time of Israel. And we start off by a battle against the Philistines, and they were being defeated by the Philistines. And we see a number of things that go wrong in this chapter, a very disturbing chapter. In verse 3, these people who are not living for God, who are not walking with Him, cry out, "Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us take for ourselves from Shiloh the ark of the covenant of the Lord, that it may come among us and deliver us from the power of our enemies." Now, first of all, they want to know why it is that the Lord is letting them be defeated. And it was obvious why they were being defeated. This is the same question, by the way, that Gideon had asked back in Judges 6:13, when it was very well known even by Gideon why they were being defeated, why they were under oppression, because they had abandoned the Lord. But instead of turning to the Lord, instead of praying, instead of repenting, they seek an easy way out, and they came up with a scheme. They would take the Ark of the Covenant out of the tabernacle, and they would bring it into the battlefield, thinking the power of the Ark would be able to deliver them in the battle. What a ridiculous thought. First of all, the Ark is not being treated as holy. It belonged in the tabernacle. When we now know that the tabernacle has been built, we know that it was had a very special place in the Holy of Holies. It was to be treated as holy. Only the high priest was to go into the Holy of Holies once a year. So it was a strange thing to consider. You would take that ark out of the Holy of Holies and bring it into the battlefield. They might have been thinking back to the time of Joshua at the Jericho battle, but that was before the tabernacle, the ark had been placed in the tabernacle in the same way. And so and the Lord did not give them instructions to do this. And the second thing, they were not treating it as holy, they were treating it as some kind of a talisman, some kind of magic charm that they thought could deliver them. They weren't turning to God for deliverance, they were turning to the box, the Ark of the Covenant. So that was one thing that is definitely a concern here. They trotted out to the battlefield, and the Philistines were fearful, as we see here. They had heard about the power of God. They had the same mythological view of the ark that the people of Israel seem to have. They had heard stories of them coming out of Egypt, although the ark had not been built at that time, but they heard stories, and they thought that somehow the God of Israel was in that box, and now He's on the battlefield. And they're very, very fearful, very mythological understanding of deity. But that's where they were. But instead of walking away and giving up, they said, we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to defeat this God somehow. And they do exactly that. Another thing that's really wrong here is that there's two priests under Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were leading the charge. They were leading the ark into the battlefield. And remember, these are godless men. So godless, the Lord had promised to take their lives. And in verse 11, He does exactly that, just as He had predicted to Samuel as well as to Eli. So godless priests are taking the ark out of the place where it should be, bringing it into the battlefield, thinking it was some kind of a magic charm to win the battle, and they lost the battle. Terrible thing that had happened. Well, after the ending of the battle, and message came back to Eli in verse 13, and he was trembling because of the ark, not because of his sons. He knew the ark should not be there. And as a man who had been the high priest for 40 years and a judge of Israel, it was greatly concerning him what was taking place. According to verse 15, he's 98 years old by this time. When he hears that not only had his sons died, but the ark had been taken, he falls over backwards and dies, verse 18. And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, at that time has a child. She names the child Ichabod. And Ichabod, verse 21, means the glory of the Lord has departed from Israel. So that is what the meaning of that is. And so the glory had departed. In her thinking, it had departed, I'm sure, because the ark is gone. Now, in truth, the glory of the Lord in many ways had departed from Israel at this time, and Ichabod would be a symbol of that from that time on. So he's demonstrating here that the Lord will not be toyed with. The Lord is his ark, which represents him, would not be tampered with either. So a dark day, chapter 4 in the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel. We'll look at chapter 5 tomorrow.